Welcome everyone to the pilot episode of the VHS Film Club, where myself and my friend Guy are going to jump into our DeLorean and go back to somewhere in the mid-80s and find a video to fill the void of a Sunday evening. Because if probably kids today, oh God, I properly aged myself now, two middle-aged men. Guy mentioned this before. In the mid-80s, there was nothing to do on a Sunday because everything's shut.
Yeah.
But you could get a video, from what I remember. You could get a video, but most places completely and utterly shut. But before we get into that, I'd like to, I'm going to hand over to my my co-host, Guy, to introduce himself and tell us all what he does.
Well, hi everyone. Thanks, Alan, for having me. This is a really cool idea. I can't see what can go wrong. I love the 80s. I love videos.
Apart from what we say and do.
Yeah, apart from what we say and do. So my name's Guy Gardner. I'm a writer and musician, piano teacher. And that's kind of basically what I do. I've written two books so far. I've written a few books, but only two that I would probably mention that I'm in any way sort of proud of. And I don't know, maybe we'll circle back to that in a bit. But I started off playing music. That's what I've done most of my life. And then in around 2006, 2007, I sort of had this overwhelming urge to write. And that started it all off, really, this sort of journey, which has been amazing. And I just love doing it. You know, it's become such a huge thing, you know, and also meeting, you know, amazing people in the writing community. It's been a huge blast of fun. It's been great. And that's where I am. That's what I do now.
That's cool. I mean, I can say from personal experience, I was lucky enough to read an advanced copy of The Apprentice Thief, which I loved. I'm currently reading, I'm going backwards now. And I got this one, which I'm pleased by, signed by the author as well, which I was not expecting.
That one must have come from my local Waterstone somehow, because I think that's the only ones I signed.
Well, I'll have to be honest, it's hard times, and I kind of was like, I wanted to buy it, and then I was going, what's the cheaper way I can buy it? And I have to say, I did buy it from World of Books.
Yeah.
But then I got the bonus that you signed it, so I'm not, you know, although I'm sorry that I couldn't, you know, I didn't give you royalties with, so I got something extra. And this goes on. I was saying to Don, I saw Donna Morfitt on Saturday because he just happened to be around the corner. So I thought I'd just jump in the car and say hello. And I said the only other book I've bought where it's been accidentally signed is I've got a Mr. Fussy book that's been I think it's been legitimately signed by Roger Hargreaves, not the pretend one, the printed one. I need to get it validated, but it's like, I think we bought all those books in car boot sales.
Yeah.
Just in one of those, there was a signed copy. So you're up there with Roger Hargreaves in the accidental signing of books competition.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So, just a bit about me quickly. I've only got one string to my bow, so I don't play any instruments at all, and I sing really badly. But I have written a few books, which I've self-published. Starting off with Shimmer, moving on to a book called Midas, and then the latest one being Lucas. But I won't go into them too much today, because actually we came here to talk about films, but I think it was good to explain why Guy and I are talking about films.
We are.
Okay. Before we start that, what which video shop we're going to go to? That's an important decision. What treats did you bring with you, Guy?
Well, I bought an array of things.
Oh, what have you got? Oh, was that Monster Munch? Oh, is that beef?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Poppets.
Oh God, I never ate poppets.
Yeah, they're really hard. I don't think. Well, I think some of the 80s snacks, Rainbow Drops. Did you ever try those?
Oh, I think I did have Rainbow Drops. I don't think it was a particular favourite, but
no,
I have eaten Rainbow Drops.
As far as I can tell, they're made of styrofoam. But nevertheless, quite tasty for all that. I mean, again, that was another good thing, wasn't it? I think the food laws were a bit more relaxed in the 80s. So
I think there was plenty of additives which are banned now for causing God knows what,
Yeah,
different E numbers and stuff. Okay, so you're well stocked.
I'm well stocked.
Was there anything else you got, or is that's
Yeah, there
enough?
is.
Oh, you
I've
got
got
more.
I've got dip daps,
Oh, I love a dip tap,
but I'm a little
or a
bit
sherbet
worried that
fountain.
it's going to make me look like I'm sort of taking coke, so I'm going to leave them. Um, and a drumstick.
Oh, I always found those a bit hard to eat
They're
because
really hard. And again, I mean, I'm not going to be eating that because it's going to get stuck in my teeth, and I won't be able to talk. But I just wanted to prove, how serious I was about, the whole thing. And
okay. Well, I went out looking for Pacers. I don't know if you remember Pacers. They were
oh yeah,
like
yeah,
minty opal fruits,
yeah,
which are
yeah,
now called Starburst. This is all really confusing.
yeah,
Couldn't obviously can't get it. Or marathon. I tried to get a marathon. Couldn't get a
yeah,
marathon. But what I could get, let's go in order of savoury.
yeah.
So I got some Twiglets.
Nice.
I got it having this modern packaging, not like the cardboard stuff we used to have it in, like at
Yeah.
Christmas. Um, I also found some ice gems.
Ah, nice.
Although I seem to remember having ice gems when I was really young, so rather than a bit older. And then it was hard times in the 80s. I don't think our kids really understand. When you went to the when you went to the bakery, you couldn't always get cakes with cream in it. That synthetic stuff. And also we had wagon
Ah,
wheels,
yes.
which I'm just going to read the back of this. Biscuit filled mallow covered in chocolate flavored
Yeah.
coatings. You didn't even get chocolate.
No.
Chocolate flavored.
Yeah.
So
I don't actually know what that is, but
I
it's a
don't know what it
chemical, isn't
is
it?
either. I don't know, Aon. I don't. I don't. There's not even any. I didn't think it was allowed. There's no ingredients on
No.
here. I didn't think that was allowed. It's got biscuit, mallow, and chocolate flavoring. That's all
Yeah.
it's got.
That sort of covers a multitude of sins, doesn't it? That could be pretty much anything.
So I don't know. But we're talking about the decade where they put sort of horse meat in sort of random things like Finder's crispy pancakes. So this is probably a bit milder than that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so right, where are we going to go? Which video shop are we going to go into then? What's your video shop like, Guy?
Well, my video shop was Manor Park Video,
Hmm.
just up the road from where I live. So I'd go in there with my dad, and there's always a sort of haze of cigarette smoke. Because again, the 80s, like everyone smoked, didn't they? It was
Yep.
perfectly fine to smoke. It was good for you, helps a healthy constitution. So, yeah, so there's this guy in there that smoked permanently, sort of out back, and he was sort of yellow because he'd spent so much time, that the smoke had obviously sort of stained him. Um, and it was really awesome. Sort of, quite dirty carpet. Um, a few plastic plants that were really dusty. It was brilliant. I sort of remember it. I can walk around it now in my mind palace to this day. And you go in, and the sort of cheapest videos would be first. The really expensive ones, which are like £3,
Yep.
would be by the counter. Um,
That's
but my
80s
dad,
£3, isn't it? We're talking about
sorry,
80s £3.
80s £3, so
Yeah.
15 quid. Um, but my dad would never go for those, so they're too expensive. So yeah, we sort of ended up hiring the 50p ones, and in amongst them were some absolutely shocking but brilliant movies. Um, it was just great, and we just watched these things on a Saturday and Sunday afternoon. It was always raining. We had a video, one that the cassette popped up. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
the
sort
top
of have one
loader.
of those. It had huge levers on the front, like a sort of, had to pull down with both hands. And it was great. That sort of technology is, I mean, again, it's like we say kids today, but they don't sort of get that, do they?
Oh,
Everything's just,
I remember our video player, our first one, had a proper remote control. I mean, remote control. It had a lead
yeah,
running from the video.
yeah,
It was wired. But
yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. Well, I think
What
we
was
should go to
yours?
your video shop today. I think,
Yeah,
and I think that's exactly where we're going to be digging around in today is the 50p section, and I think
yeah,
we're going to dig around in the bargain bin sci-fi section of the
yeah.
shop. I think.
Sounds brilliant.
Okay.
Um,
So I think we both had ideas of what to bring to this. So I think probably Ice Pirates probably was probably more from your angle, although
Yeah,
I'm very aware of that film. But yeah, do you want to? We should start with that one. Do you want to give us a premise of Ice
yeah.
Pirates?
Okay, well, I watched it. I haven't watched it for years, so I'd sort of forgotten a lot of it. I just remember certain bits really clearly. But the premise of it was it's set in the future. And in this future, there's very, very little water. There's been some kind of intergalactic war. And for some reason, which is never explained, that means there's no water anymore. I don't know why that would be. But water's become this massively rare commodity. It's transported by these Templar Knights. Again, not quite sure the Templar Knights, but they are. They have chainmail, the whole works, and water's transported in these massive blocks of ice. And the ice pirates steal it, and they make a sort of fortune from it. And these particular ice pirates steal some ice and also a princess who they sort of take a fancy to. Um, so there's like a little bit of a sort of Star Wars sort of reference to it in some ways. Um, and then they go on this madcap adventure looking for a planet that still has water on it. And this princess's father is the only one that knows where it is. And they try and find him. And what follows can only be I started writing notes. I like the music. Love the music, very chipper. And then I wrote to remind myself, ba 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 ba, because that's sort of what it was like. Ba ba. And then I wrote shoulder pads because whoever designed the costume, thought massive shoulder pads are the way to go.
Yeah.
Um, and everyone had these sort of monster shoulder pads. And then, yeah, they just go. I sort of stopped watching because it just got so crazy. Templar Knights. The first thing you see is this weird turkey-like alien. They burst into this room and
Oh,
it's on the
right.
toilet.
Yeah. So they jump. This is where they break into the ship, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
and that happens, and they knock it out.
yeah, but what's they do? Yeah, that was one of the bits I really like. So they break into the next ship, but they break in through the bathroom, don't they? And this
Yeah,
turkey-like aliens basically on the throne, isn't he? When
yeah.
these pirates come through.
I mean, and then there's this sort of fight scene. Someone loses a hand, uh, but doesn't seem to be in any pain. They're just kind of like laughing. It's Ron Perlman, isn't it? He loses a
Was it
hand.
Ron Perlman who's the hand? You're probably right. I did
Mm,
watch it recently to remind myself, but
yeah. Um, and they go on this crazy madcap adventure, and it goes off at all these angles that never get like 100% resolved. Um, and I really enjoyed it. It kind of didn't make a lot of sense, and but it was just a lot of fun. And I just remember like thinking, yeah, this is great. You sort of don't get this now. And they must have just had a laugh making it. Um, they do find the seventh world in the end.
oh,
After
you can't
getting,
give a spoiler.
oh, sorry, yeah, no, that's bad, isn't it? Yeah, um,
But you're not the only one. I saw someone talking about is they, and people probably don't know, but trailers in the 80s was a bit like watching the whole film. Trailers went on for ages, but in the trailer
yeah,
of this film, they actually gave it away that they make it to the end,
yeah.
make it to this water world.
This water that we don't see, we never see them actually go on it. It kind of cuts out there, which is kind of cool. I kind of quite like that. But yeah, what else they do? Yeah, they go to various sort of planets. Um, get involved in weird fights. They get turned. The worst scene, the one I remember, they have to. This is the one I remember vividly, and it's on YouTube quite a lot. It's just called Chomp, and it's when they're in this. Well, it looks like a bottling plant, but it's supposed to double as this sort of weird place where they make eunuchs. And they get turned to eunuchs and done by they're on this conveyor belt. They get shaved, and then they go towards this thing that's just doing that, and they don't get chomped, and they come out the other side in this sort of tightest lycra trousers you've ever seen, and have to pass themselves off as eunuchs, because they don't quite know how they did that. But Um, it's nuts. When I watched it, I thought I don't remember it being this crazy. Maybe I just accepted it as a kid. It's like, oh yeah, it's fine. Um, yeah, it's crazy. It's the craziest film I've ever seen.
Do you know what? That's the bit. That's the only bit I remembered when I was thinking when I going to put it on again. I was going. That was the only bit I remembered was that thing with the metal teeth about, and that
Yeah,
was the way they got their balls kind of removed, which
yeah,
was horrendous. I got actually I did do some research for this. I have taken this very seriously.
yeah.
Um, it did come out in 1984, but then we wouldn't have seen it on video. I don't know how long it usually took to think of, maybe a couple of years, maybe I don't know.
Must have been. Yeah,
Must have been like that. It originally had a budget of 20 million,
yeah,
which was slashed to 8 million, and at that point, then it decides to make it a comedy instead of a serious film. And it actually made $5 million. I think that was profit actually. So it did all right. It didn't do
yeah,
too bad. As you mentioned, Ron Perlman was in it. And if everyone probably knows him, if they don't know the name, so he was Hellboy in the first Hellboy films. It was Angelica Houston, very
yeah,
sort of respected actress. She was in it as some sort of she was just like a warrior kind of
yeah,
person, wasn't she? And I'm gonna butcher this guy's name, John Matazar,
yeah.
who was an ex-American football player who was Sloth from the Goonies, so you probably wouldn't recognize
Oh,
him
was
from that
he?
film. But yeah, he was, and that was the big guy who seemed to be very good at getting himself out. He was a fast-talking big guy, I guess, because he must have been about
Yeah,
6'8" and built like a wall.
yeah,
But yeah, so those are the people you might know that's in it. Um, One thing I want to ask, because I'm going to ask this about both films actually, is how ratings of films have changed. So 80s PG films are not the same as PG films today. Um, and I've noted a couple of things when I was watching it. So one, this film has a sex scene,
yeah,
which I don't think is normal in a PG film. In fact, my son won't watch PG films from the 80s with me anymore because he says they're disturbing and he can't sleep afterwards. And it's probably fair enough to be like, I tell you, this film didn't have the usual, which is usually it seems to be the most common special effect. I reckon it was the same special effects company, Quicksand. That seemed to be in
yeah,
every 80s film, but there was no
yeah,
quicksand in this one. But 80s PG, even Hughes, actually, if you think about Star Wars, you think about Luke coming home and finding his aunt and uncle barbecued outside his house. How is that a U?
yeah,
They're smoking corpses outside his
yeah,
house, and that ended up as Universal. But yeah, so
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
sex scene, and it was
yeah,
very. I think they tried to make it very. What's the right word? I can't think of the right word here. Decadent, because they're
yeah.
covering themselves in water, the most precious commodity in the universe. I think it's
Yeah, that's
equivalent of
right.
having
Yeah.
sex on a bed with covered in pound. I can say pound coins, not pound coins. $50 bills or something like that. It was well,
What was funny about that is that you knew it was coming
yeah,
because the main guy, is it Robert Ulrich? I can't remember
yeah.
what he was called in the film now, but
Can't remember.
he's wearing, he's dressed sort of, appropriately 80s actiony.
Yeah,
And then you see him walking down the corridor with this brilliant white shirt that's quite tight and it's sort of open and it's tied in a knot around his midriff and these tight sort of trousers. And you think, right, this is sort of preparing us, isn't it? It's like a prelude for like what's happening
okay.
next.
So that was
And then they
proper
go into this
80s
room
pulling
and
attire. You're saying?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I tried that and it didn't work. It's just like, what are you wearing? Um, but yeah, and then yeah, they go into that room, and then it's like there's the weather. I get that it might be nice, like with the beach, and I don't know if I'd really want it then to actually start raining, there to be thunder and lightning, in the room.
I can't imagine that going down well. Well, saying I've it's saying to my wife, I've got an idea for a really romantic evening, right? We're going to wait for it to absolutely sheet down with rain, and then we're going to go make love in the garden.
Yeah,
Can't see that happening.
no. Well, you would be in the garden just by yourself.
Probably. Other thing was there was a decapitation as well.
Yeah,
80s PG. So someone had their head chopped off,
yeah.
which I thought was. But yeah, 80s PG. We'll come back to that with the other film as well. But um,
You're right though. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of decapitations, I think.
what was there?
There's,
I only
oh
remember
yeah, no,
one.
because there's that guy. There's that sort of weird when they go to that planet looking for the girl's father,
Yeah.
and there's this sort of weird guy with a beard, and he gets his head chopped off, but he lives. So they're carrying him around as a head.
Oh yeah, he's like a robot-y thing, isn't he? He's like
Yeah,
half thing, half robot.
but they sort of pick on him and like drop the head repeatedly and kick it around, and I suppose sort of like we're all pals, dish, and yeah, it's horrendous, and that's PG. So my kids could watch that, couldn't they? And that would
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
like it would traumatize them.
I think they'd have a weird idea of sex education as well, because I think there's space herpes on the ship, which is like a little alien kind of off of Alien,
Yeah,
the Ridley Scott, I think right, Ridley Scott, yeah, Ridley Scott
yeah,
film, running around. So I think that would really confuse kids, I think, in terms
yeah,
of sex education, thinking, well, that's what herpes is a
yeah.
little alien running around a ship. So
I that scene I like associated with a different film. And
okay,
when I saw it, I thought, oh yeah, the Christmas turkey scene. And I don't
mm,
know if it was yeah, because Alien came up before that, so maybe it was a bit of a nod to Ridley Scott. But it was disgusting, and I remember being really put off food for quite some time
oh yeah,
after
because
seeing
it
that.
came out of a turkey, didn't it?
Yeah,
That's right. Yes.
they obviously thought we've decapitated a couple of people, so we can't have it coming out of a person. We'll just have it coming out of some food, which is somehow sort of worse.
So not a Thanksgiving or Christmas film really, or not a
No,
pre. But oh, you mentioned about the beginning bit. That was when a bit really made me laugh, where they break in through the toilets and the
yeah,
aliens on the on the throne. There we are. The other bits I really liked was there's a bit because they have a lot of fighting robots, don't they, in this
yeah.
film? But there's a bit where there's a fight between two of the robots where they just repeatedly kick each other in the balls, and it's so simple, but they're robots. They haven't really got balls, but just the fact they were just repeatedly kicking each other in the balls till one of them kind of gave in and went, "I can't take it anymore." That really made me laugh.
And then there's
Uh,
one that sort of loses his legs, isn't there? So he's kind of like on these stumps. It's just like, I mean, you do. I mean, it's like, what were they really thinking? Like, who? Right,
um,
robots. We need some robots, but and they were quite crap. The robots, weren't they? Not none of them did a lot apart from sort of explode. I think one was sick at one point, wasn't it? Threw up a load of sort of bolts and oil and stuff.
oh yeah, I think one of them. Kind of like before battle scene, kind of emptied their guts type
Yeah,
thing at the back. Like he was like so scared that it load of things came out. I think that happened. Um, yeah, and I quite like the space gopher. I don't know what else to call them. On the
yeah.
when the planet they go on, there's these little.
Oh, yeah.
They're not Jim's. They're not Jim Henson quality puppets.
It's just that it's so they're just on a stick, aren't they?
Yeah, they
Someone
seem on.
getting paid $50.
I think by the time they got to that bit, they'd spent all of the 8 million. I think, and
Yeah,
then it was just sort of toilet brushes dressed up, being poked through the cracks. Oh, do you have I didn't have this. I got it from my other film, but do you have a favorite quote or line from the film you remember?
oh, I don't know. I was thinking if anything. He starts off with a lot of quips, doesn't he? When he's fighting, he's like take
Yeah,
that, and um, I can't think of anything I could actually remember from it. Nothing
maybe
springing to mind.
it'll come up. And the other
Right.
bit, which seems to be in every film actually, which I don't. It must have been. I don't know. I don't know if producers were getting involved because I think, like you said, everything was thrown at this film. It was in space, but Templar Knights. But
Yeah,
every film seems to have scantily clad warrior women,
yeah.
which I can kind of see why, because it's women dressed in not very much, but that seemed to be a really
Yeah,
common theme in all these films,
yeah,
regardless of where they were set. You had to
yeah,
have a big group of warrior women in there in
yeah.
not very many clothes.
No, no. It was and on weird, and there wasn't very much in that. That was the guy who lost his head,
Hmm.
and they found a dad who turned out to be a robot, and so he wasn't much help. It wasn't really him,
Yeah,
and that was it. The whole thing was just about the fight with the scantily clad warrior women, I think.
yeah, it was just a crowbar it in, wasn't it? It's like making a film from flashcards or something. Just pick a card. All right, then we'll just chuck this. And that's what
Yeah,
the film felt like. It was a lot of ideas chucked together, but I think that's
yeah,
what probably made it good, to be honest. Um,
yeah,
you mentioned the ending. We won't do another. We'll put a spoiler alert at the beginning.
yeah,
But I do think the film ended really suddenly. I was watching it and thinking, oh, it just suddenly. I felt like it just ended. It was
yeah,
like, oh, I was expecting more, and just went, boom. Oh, that's it.
yeah. They had a massive. They had this weird. That was the other thing. They had that weird temple battle, didn't they? Where they all got really old,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then that, and then it stopped, and they were young again, and we got through that. And the other guys didn't make it because oh, that was the other funny thing. One quote from it that I do remember. They find this girl's father, who's again a bit of a reference to Star Wars. He's like in this little recording that pops up,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and he says, "I've got the coordinates, to this world that everyone's been obsessing about, and it's like 326 gamma quadrant. It's those simple coordinates. And it's like that's it. That's enough to get you there through all of space and time.
Yeah.
326 gamma quadrant. I think that's it.
That's
You know,
that's all we needed. No, but I think to put it in context, because I know there's some people who probably won't watch this, it's a bit like watching Star Wars, and in the middle of the film where the Millennium Falcon goes into light speed, when it comes out of light speed, it's the end of the film.
yeah,
That's pretty much how it goes. You're like, come
yeah,
out of light speed, oh, end of the film, and it virtually does go straight
yeah.
into the closing credits.
It must have been. I mean, I guess that was the point where somebody went, "Okay, enough's enough. Let's bring this charade to an end."
All right, cool. Okay, well, I think we should take a commercial break here,
Mhm.
get some messages from our sponsors, and after the break, we're going to come back with the film I'm proposing to rent this evening, which is Space Hunter. In fact, the full name I think is Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. So we'll come back after this break.
Lucas, the man. Well, he's not really a man. That's the point, really. If you like your horror and comedy in equal measure, like a finely made cocktail, then Lucas is the book for you. Available from Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardback.
He was just an ordinary boy, living an idyllic life on the barges. One day his world is thrown into chaos, and he's forced to move to the streets of London. Pray you never meet the apprentice thief. Available soon in all good VHS video shops.
Okay, welcome back. So now we're going to talk about a film I'm proposing we rent tonight because we've only got 150p between us.
Yeah,
It's hard being artists. It's it's not a very profitable business, so we got 150p to spend on a video. So I'm going to propose Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, which was originally 3D in the cinema.
Whoa.
I've never seen it in 3D. I think the first time I watched this film, in fact, I know the first time I watched this film was I started watching it late one night at home, didn't have any clue what it was, recorded it. So it was on a recorded VHS. But then because I missed the opening credits for years, I had no idea what this film was called.
No,
Absolutely no idea. And it was only after talking to a friend when I described the plot, he said, "Oh, that's Space Hunter." And I was like, "Is it?" So I'd lost the video by that point. I'd lost the recorded one. So
Yeah.
it meant I could go back and watch it. Now, the premise of Space Hunter is that there's some big, like, I don't know, cruiser or transport ship that gets into trouble. And I think only 3 people escape. These 3 women escape from it. I think the whole rest of the other ship blows up. And their escape pods land on this post-apocalyptic world. I don't think they actually name what it's called, actually. But anyway, this desert-like world. And this knockoff Han Solo called Wolf goes to rescue them and collect the big reward for doing so. So that's the premise of the film. I think they talked about being a comedy, but I think it felt like they played it straight. To be honest, I didn't really get many comic vibes, not in the same way as Ice Pirates, anyway.
No, it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty serious. I mean, the beginning bit, it was quite nice, wasn't it? Because it started off, look at this spiral galaxy, and they're all sort of like viewing it, and then the whole ship, it all goes wrong, doesn't it? And they said, "Don't panic, everything's fine," but it's clearly not fine because by this point the ship's sort of disintegrating. And I mean, I thought there was more of a plot than us, but I have to say, when I watched it, I watched them back to back, and it's like, I could sort of there was a definite more beginning, middle, and end to it.
I think it was more of a plot, I would say, than
Ice
Pirates.
Yeah, go on. You say it's your baby.
Oh yeah. No, cool. Well, this makes me laugh. This film was released a week before Return of the Jedi, which makes me laugh. So I don't know if they were thinking, we'll make it 3D and we'll get it in before Jedi, and we'll do great.
We'll show that George Lucas how it's done.
Yeah, we're sure it's done. So so if you kind of look at the numbers, Jedi made 440 million, and that probably doesn't even include all the other ways it made money in terms of toys and all the other stuff and spin-offs. Space Hunter made 2. So it didn't quite work out. So the way I look at it, sort of after the Ewoks had kind of kicked the crap out of the Empire, they just decided to carry that on and kick the living crap out of Space Hunter as well. So it didn't do very well, but I kind of like it that it's kind of a failure. Actually, I think there's something attractive about something which just fails so spectacularly, because I think they put a bit of money. I can't remember how much they spent on it, but I think they spent a reasonable amount of money on it. So I think it made very little. It only just broke even. People who are in it, people who recognise, there's Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters. And The Crow. He's in loads of really good films I like, actually. What else? Hand the Rocks a Cradle as well. So he's in it, who I love. Molly Ringwald, who's in a lot of films that I'm probably not so keen on. Things like 16 Candles and some of those other kind of mushy kind of John Hughesy films, like the other John Hughesy films, like Weird Science, but not the real mushy ones. And Michael Ironside as well, who most people would probably remember as being Jester in Top Gun. And he's also one of the baddies in Total Recall as well. But Total Recall's out of our price range, so we're not going to be talking about that kind of
I
level
think that's
of sci-fi.
£1.50, isn't it? So
I'm interested.
I loved. No, I was going to say I love Michael Ironside. He's still going now. He's somewhat larger than he was in the 80s, but he was a real good bad guy. And he was really good in that. He was properly creepy.
No, it's brilliant. movie was produced by Ivan Reitman, who directed Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And you can see some connections there with Ernie Hudson. The other one, which I really had to look this up to confirm it. But if you listen to the music, there's definite Ghostbuster kind of esque kind
Yeah.
of music in this film. And I did look it up. So a guy called Elmer, I didn't think anyone in the real world was called Elmer. I thought
No,
it
they
was just
are.
Elmer.
Yeah.
But a guy called Elmer Bernstein was the composer, who also did Ghostbusters as well. So he's
Ah,
obviously.
right.
I think it's okay if you rob from yourself. You can't rob
No,
things from other people. But if you rob from yourself, that's perfectly okay.
it's fine.
But
Yeah.
there's definitely a few. I don't know what's it called. I don't know what it's called. There's like a instrument where you kind of makes these really weird noises. I think if you put your hand there, it goes. Ooh.
Theremin.
Is that what it's called? I
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
you'd know what that was. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure there's a bit of
Instantly.
theremin in there.
Yeah.
Um, it sounds like a
Yeah.
drug actually, more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
There's, but it had that there's that quite upbeat sort of the music. The Ice Pirates was quite upbeat, and that sort of had that. It's like even when all hell was breaking loose at the beginning, it's like ba 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 da ba da ba ba ba.
yeah,
It's kind
proper
of a quite a
adventure, kind of
feel
was like
good.
pirate. It was like proper pirate, like like a
Yeah.
proper pirate film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But, um, again, an 80s PG. Things I noticed, you may have noticed more, but I think the bit with those kind of scary obese mutants they get chased by, I thought that
Oh,
was pretty could be pretty terrifying for a younger audience.
and they were sort of nude, weren't they, as well?
I think so. I think the only thing that covered their modesty was the kind of rolls of fat, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it was
They were.
slimy.
Yeah. It was disgusting. I must admit, I dozed off and I woke up and saw that, and I just thought, this is hideous. But they were quite fast, despite their size, and they got through. They were like pushing through stuff. They were quite fit.
It
I
was
was impressed.
it was proper kind of sort of zombie Night of the Living Dead kind of
Yeah.
vibe, wasn't it? So it's a PG again. So there was that one, and there was another bit where the baddie, who's Michael Ironside, who plays this very scary kind of he's well, not much left of him really, is it? It's kind of like he's mostly machine, but there's a bit of
Yeah.
human left. Called Overdog. He's getting his kind of servants to undress these female captives against their
Oh,
will as well. And
yeah.
I'm thinking PG.
Yeah. 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 It was awful. And he's like, slow down, wasn't he? He's like making them do it slower. I was like, oh my God. And he had a sort of a quite weird helper, didn't he? Like a
Oh
sort of,
yeah,
I
the
guess,
chemist.
yeah.
The chemist.
And he was like super creepy too. Uh, really weird vibe to that.
Suppose I can't see much comic elements to this film, apart from maybe a couple of one-liners.
Yeah,
There wasn't much comic elements, I don't think. Um,
no.
but
Uh,
yeah.
he had huge hands, didn't he? The overdog. Those sort of like
Oh
gripping
yeah,
things.
they
They
were
were
like
sort of massive, weren't they?
big.
I
Yeah,
was,
just to make it clear, big mechanical hands. He
yeah,
sounded the only bit of him that looked human was kind of the top bit. He was kind of like he looked like maybe they preserved his head and
yeah,
face and neck, and the rest of it was all mechanical, a bit like RoboCop, I guess,
yeah,
or Darth Vader. Maybe more Darth Vader vibe, I guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
but they did do it. I thought he did him really cool, and I thought yeah he was pretty creepy, to be honest,
yeah,
in that
yeah,
film. Um, other bits which just made me smile was another bunch of warrior women. It just seemed to be like it's a space film. We've got to put warrior women in. It was
yeah.
I didn't really get
What?
it.
Yeah, Warrior Women. There's those hang glider things earlier, weren't they? That was quite cool.
That was cool, yeah. Where they capture the people who've crash landed. So overdogs minions kind of like steal them really quickly, don't they? And take them
Yeah,
off to I can't remember where he lives, wherever his kind of stronghold is.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, that was pretty cool. I like that. I like the vehicles as well. I'm always a sucker for that kind of stuff from those films, like the spaceships and the vehicles and stuff like that. But
yeah.
yeah,
They were good. I mean, some of that stuff. I don't know whether that comes from the sort of Mad Max sort of
yeah,
vibe, but it looked cool. Yeah. Yeah, the ship was good. The ship they landed in was good. I quite liked, sort of quite convincing. Um, and when they all got out, the suits were a bit weird, some weird sort of thing on the front, but I like the costume. Again, the costume design was I thought was pretty cool in that. There's some
yeah.
good stuff.
I liked the costumes, I like the special effects as well. I thought
Yeah,
they were. You could definitely see in Ice Pirates also the loss of budget, but also it it was funny because it wasn't
yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
funny because it was bad.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the beheading, the strange beheadings. That whenever they blew a few doors off. There's quite a lot of doors blown off in Ice Pirates, and it
Yeah,
was always a really neat hole, like it had been cut first and they pushed it out. And it's the same in every one. This is like two designs of sort of hole, like blast hole to sort of climb through. That was really funny. Um, there's a funny bit in. He sort of says right at the end, the Overlord in Space Hunter says, "You can never hurt me. Nothing you can do to hurt me. Nothing will work." And then he just gets electrocuted and bursts into flame. Cool.
and the other thing I remember from this film was there's a very extreme version of Ninja Warrior at the end, where instead of getting dunked in water, you got pretty much dunked in something that was gonna kill you, whether it was fire or
Yeah.
razor sharp things. So that bit I remember as well, and I quite like that bit as well.
Yeah. It's that first lad. That's the first one. He sort of falls. He's bounced on a door, isn't he? And then that sort of falls over, and he just falls onto all these sort of blades, and
Yeah,
that's him done.
yeah. Very Roman Colosseum
Yeah,
kind of thing, wasn't it? But no, it was cool. And I think one thing both films had really in common, whether it was I think it's Peter Strauss was who I've not seen him in anything else apart from this film. And is it Michael Ulrich? Did you say he was in the other film?
yeah,
Yeah, I think they both had a similar role of being wisecracking and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I quite like the one-liners. I think the one bit I remember I wrote down was I think when he gets surrounded by the warrior women, one of them says, "Oh, I bet breeding with us would kill him," and then Wolf says, "I'll take that bet." And I think there was just so many kind of cheesy kind of one-liners throughout the film like that. So I quite like that. But yeah, I like this. I did like this film. I thought the main characters were relatively strong in it, and I liked Michael Ironside. I thought he was an ace baddie in this, which
yeah,
he was almost
yeah,
unrecognizable with all the things they did to him. Like
yeah,
I when I looked up, it was Michael Ironside. I went, "Oh yeah, it is," but I didn't
yeah.
get that straight away because he was so made up in this film.
I would never have recognised him. It's a bit like, I don't know if you've seen Legend.
Yes, yeah,
That's
yeah,
another. So Tim Curry, you'd never guessed
yeah,
he was Satan in a million years. It was great. I love that makeup. Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, you never recognised him. I suppose when you know it's him, he's got those cheekbones, really
yeah,
high
yeah,
cheekbones. You go, oh yeah, it's him. Um, but he was awesome in it, and he was sort of in that weird. He couldn't walk, could he? So he was just sort of like moved around, and that.
it's like some
I don't know.
pneumatic thing. It must have been like almost like a cherry picker type thing. But it was
Yeah,
all integrated, was he? Was like this big mechanical kind of. It's hard to explain actually. Big mechanical kind of cyborg
yeah.
thing. But
It was great, and I think, I mean, that's the thing with those things, isn't it? That obviously they didn't have, or the CGI wasn't CGI, was it? But it kind of made it. They had to be really creative with what they did, and I really liked that. There was a great one. I'm sort of just sort of off the top of my head. Another film I really like. We're going to next to Jabberwocky. The creature at the end, the guy that in the suit turned round and walked backwards, so it looked like its legs were hinged backwards. And
wow.
it's just stuff like that. It's brilliant. How cool is that? And I think we missed that. I like that.
that's one thing I love about these films is how creative they are with all the special effects and stuff. I
Yeah,
think some of them can come up with really good. And one that one really creeped me out was it's in Beastmaster. If you remember that film,
yeah, yeah,
the things are kind of really tall things that like enveloped you and like kind of swallowed, almost like swallowed you within
yeah,
seconds, and then those things were really creepy, and
yeah,
it was all just effects, and
yeah.
I really liked how creative they are on all these films. I think the 80s was a real big time of creativity.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, there's probably some, but some films that are probably more widely recognised for that. But I think it existed in all the films, to be
yeah,
honest, to a larger or greater degree.
yeah, yeah. And again, those model. I was lucky enough when I was a kid. Or still was a kid. I was 16. I did my work experience at Pinewood Studios,
So
and
where?
I saw some of this stuff, and it was amazing. There was a boat. I remember it to this day that they used I think it was used in an advert. Nothing particularly sort of special, but it was like a 4 or 5 foot model of a clipper,
Yeah,
absolutely rendered in perfect detail. And it's like the skill that someone had to do that, and it was just left at the back of the lot, sort of
yeah,
finished
yeah.
with, and that was it, And it's like this is amazing, and all those sort of spaceships at the time, they were brilliant, It's like they're so well done.
The detail in the spaceships in things like Star Wars and stuff like that, and how
Yeah,
well that was done. Yeah, I think it
yeah,
was a magic. I'm very happy that I had my childhood in that decade. To be honest, I think
yeah,
it was a fantastic decade to grow
yeah.
up in. Actually, okay, right then. So we got to decide. We got 150p. Got a choice of two films. One of the two films we can take home to watch and eat with our ice gems, wagon wheels, rainbow drops, puppets. So what are you going for? Are you going to go for Ice Pirates or Space Hunter?
Wow. I think I'd have to go. I think purely on being a being a writer and appreciating some form of plot, I'd probably have to go with Space Hunter. I loved Ice Pirates, um, but Space Hunter did have a beginning, middle, and end that was
Okay.
sort of satisfying.
Well, I got to agree. I think Space Hunter is my favorite of the two. I was gonna
Yeah,
if you're gonna say Ice Pirates, I was gonna go with you because it's your video shop, so I was
yeah,
gonna acquiesce that. But maybe on the way out we'll see a 50p glinting in the
yeah,
somewhere in the pavement or something, or the gutter
yeah.
or something, and we can go back in and get both and do a double bill of them both.
That'd be so cool.
Okay, that's cool. I really enjoyed doing this today.
I did.
I don't know. Have you got a taste for any kind of horror films at all?
Yeah. I watched well again loads in the 80s. Wow. I mean, obviously, Nightmare on Elm Street springs to mind.
Okay.
The one called Extro. That's a horrendous alien. Um, that was a good 80s one. Does
Okay.
it have to be 80s or can we move through the?
What's the difficult? Maybe we take this off camera. But I was going to suggest if we if we do another one of these, maybe we could do something. It probably have to be post Halloween, but maybe we could do a scary movie version of this
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah,
for the next one, just as a suggestion. All right, cool. That'd
yeah.
be great. I'd love to do it. I really enjoyed doing today.
It's brilliant,
Um,
Alan. Thanks. Yeah,
and yeah, I'd like to thank my co-host Guy for making this possible. And well, let's see. Sometimes pilots don't get off the ground. Hopefully, this does, and we make it to an episode 2. At least there's no network that can cancel us. It's
no,
not going to be like Firefly or something like that, where
no,
the network's going to decide we can't get. No one can stop us. I don't
no one
think.
can stop us.
Uh,
Vive la revolution and Sunday dinner. It's
yeah,
beef, right? So
yeah. So it's even if YouTube or Facebook or wherever we post this decide, no, you're disreputable and we're not going to allow you to post this, what we'll do, we'll copy this onto VHS and we'll
yeah,
distribute it.
yeah,
Probably have to distribute some video recorders as well, but
yeah.
we'll get it out there regardless of whether.
Somehow we'll do it.
Yes. All right, cheers, buddy. Well, thank you very much for giving up your Sunday evening to having a talk about 80s bobbins.
Been brilliant, Alan. Cheers.
All right, cheers, buddy. Bye.
Bye.